Captain Hyun-woo stood at the bridge window looking at the strange black ship floating in space. The massive vessel hung there like a dark shadow against the stars. It was completely silent and did not answer any of their calls. 3 months had passed since the first black ship disappeared, taking all its secrets with it. Now this second ship had appeared near the asteroid belt, and nobody knew what to expect. The UES Defender had been sent to investigate this mysterious vessel. Commander, Jimin walked up to the captain holding a data pad in her hands. Her face looked worried and tired. The crew had been on high alert for weeks, ever since their sensors first detected the black ship. Nobody could sleep well, knowing something so dangerous was drifting so close to Earth. This second black ship looked different from the first one. It was bigger and had sharp angles that hurt to look at. Strange metal patterns covered its hull like scars. The ship seemed to absorb light rather than reflect, it making it appear like a hole cut out of space itself. Even their best computers could not understand what they were seeing. Dr. Sang-ho had been studying the energy readings from his science station for days. His instruments showed confusing data that changed every time he looked. The ship was not completely dead as they had first thought. Something was moving inside it, something that made their sensors go crazy with warnings and alarms. The doctor walked over to Captain Hyun-woo with his latest report. His hands shook slightly as he spoke. The energy patterns coming from the black ship were unlike anything in their databases. They were part human technology and part something else. Something alien and advanced in ways that made no sense. Commander Jimin reported that their communication officers had tried every frequency and language they knew. The black ship remained silent, but their passive scanners showed it was listening. It was watching them just as they watched it. The thought made everyone on the bridge feel uncomfortable and afraid. Lieutenant Tae-jin entered the bridge with his Marine squad behind him. They were the best soldiers on the ship, trained for dangerous boarding missions. The lieutenant saluted Captain Hyun-woo and asked for permission to prepare for boarding action. His men looked ready for anything, their weapons checked and their armor polished. The captain studied the data one more time before making his decision. The black ship posed too great a threat to ignore. They needed to know what happened to its crew and what secrets it carried. Earth Command had ordered them to investigate at any cost, even if it meant risking their own lives. Dr. Min Kyung, the ship's medical officer, joined the group. On the bridge, she had been analyzing biological samples from space around the black ship. Her findings were disturbing. The area around the vessel contained traces of human DNA, but it had been changed somehow. The genetic material showed signs of alien modification that should have been impossible. Captain Hyun-woo called his senior staff together for a final briefing. They gathered around the holographic display showing the black ship in detail. Every surface and angle was mapped, but they still had no idea what waited inside. The ship looked dead from the outside, but their instruments suggested otherwise. The energy readings were getting stronger as they moved closer. Something inside the black ship was waking up. The passive systems that had been dormant were starting to activate one by one. Their computers tried to translate the alien signals but failed every time. The technology was too advanced or too different from anything they knew. Commander Jimin suggested they maintain a safe distance and call for backup from Earth Command. But Captain Hyun-woo knew they could not wait. The black ship might disappear again like the first one, taking all its secrets with it. They had only one chance to learn the truth about what happened to humanity's greatest warriors. Dr. Sang-ho warned that approaching the vessel might trigger some kind of defensive system. The energy pattern suggested the ship could still fight if threatened, but the captain had made up his mind. They would board the black ship and discover its secrets no matter the cost. The crew prepared for the most dangerous mission of their lives. Engineers checked all systems twice while Marines loaded their weapons with special ammunition designed to work. In alien environments, medical teams prepared for casualties and the worst possible scenarios. Everyone knew this mission might be their last. Lieutenant Tae-jin selected his best 12 Marines for the boarding party. Each soldier was equipped with advanced suits that could protect them from unknown alien technology. They carried scanners and recording devices to document everything they found. The mission was as much about gathering information as surviving. Captain Hyun-woo gave the final order to approach the black ship. The Defender moved slowly through space, its engines barely making any sound. The crew watched their instruments, carefully looking for any sign of hostile activity. The black ship continued to drift silently, but the energy readings grew stronger with each passing minute. As they got closer, the true size of the mysterious vessel became clear. It was enormous, much larger than any ship humanity had ever built. The hull showed signs of modification with alien technology grafted onto human designs in impossible ways. Whoever had changed this ship possessed knowledge far beyond human understanding. Dr. Min Kyung detected more biological traces as they approached. The samples showed not just human DNA, but also genetic material from unknown alien species. The implications were terrifying. If the crew had been somehow changed or infected, they might face enemies that were once their own people. The black ship suddenly powered up its running lights. The hull began to glow with strange symbols that hurt to look at directly. Emergency alarms rang throughout the Defender as their computers detected massive energy spikes. The mysterious vessel was definitely alive, and it knew they were coming. Captain Hyunwoo ordered battle stations as they prepared to dock with the black ship. The crew moved to their positions with practiced efficiency, but everyone felt the weight of the unknown pressing down on them. They were about to enter a vessel that might hold the future of humanity or its complete destruction. The docking bay doors of the black ship opened with mechanical precision, revealing a dark interior lit only by emergency lighting. The sight sent chills down every spine on the bridge. Whatever waited inside that ship had been expecting them. The trap was set and they were walking directly into it. Lieutenant Tae-jin and his Marines moved toward the shuttle bay to begin their mission. Captain Hyun-woo watched them go, knowing he might never see these brave soldiers again. The black ship held secrets that could save humanity or doom them all. There was only one way to find out which. Lieutenant Tae-jin led his 12 Marines through the shuttle bay toward the mysterious black ship. Their boots made soft sounds on the metal floor as they moved in perfect formation. Each soldier carried enough firepower to level a small building, but they all felt small and vulnerable facing the unknown. The shuttle approached the black ship's docking bay slowly. Marine specialist So Young operated the controls, while keeping her eyes on the energy readings. The alien modifications to the ship were creating interference with their instruments, making navigation difficult and dangerous. As they entered the docking bay, the Marines could see that the interior was both familiar and wrong. The basic design was definitely human, but strange symbols covered every surface. The walls seemed to pulse with a faint light that made their eyes water when they looked directly at it. The airlocks cycled with surprising efficiency, suggesting that basic ship systems were still working. Lieutenant Tae-jin ordered his team to maintain tight formation as they moved into the corridor beyond. Their helmet cameras transmitted everything back to the Defender, where Captain Hyun-woo watched in silence. Emergency lighting cast long shadows down hallways that stretched into darkness. The air itself seemed to hum with energy that made their instruments flicker and give false readings. Marine Jin-ho reported that his scanner was detecting multiple life signs, but they kept appearing and disappearing like ghosts. The first crew quarters they found showed signs of recent occupation. Personal belongings were scattered across the floor as if someone had left in a great hurry. But there were no signs of struggle or violence. Everything looked normal except for the strange alien symbols carved into the walls. Dr. Min Kyung, who had joined the boarding party, examined the personal items left behind. She found photographs of families back on Earth, letters from loved ones, and personal journals that ended abruptly 3 months ago. The crew had been human just like them, but something had changed everything. Marine So Young discovered that the ship's computer systems were still partially active, but they had been modified with alien technology that she could not understand. The data storage units contained information in languages that their translation programs could not decode. Lieutenant Tae-jin led his team deeper into the ship, following the main corridor toward what should have been the bridge. The walls showed more and more alien modifications as they went. Strange pipes and cables ran alongside human systems, creating a hybrid technology that should not have been possible. In the medical bay, they found equipment that made everyone feel sick. To look at surgical tools showed signs of recent use, but they had been modified in ways that defied medical knowledge. The operating tables had restraints that looked more like torture devices than medical equipment. Dr. Min Kyung examined The genetic samples stored in the medical bay's laboratory. Her portable scanner showed DNA sequences that were partially human and partially something else. The alien genetic material was not just mixed with human DNA. It was woven into it in ways that suggested advanced biotechnology. Marine Taewoo found a personal log recorder that was still functional. The last entry was from 3 weeks ago, recorded by someone who called himself Commander Park. But the voice sounded strange, distorted, in ways that made it hard to understand. The man claimed he was still human, but the recording suggested otherwise. The deeper they went into the ship, the more alien modifications they found. Human technology had been seamlessly integrated with devices that looked like they belonged in a nightmare. Control panels sprouted organic-looking growths that pulsed with their own light. Corridors had been widened to accommodate beings much larger than humans. Lieutenant Taijin ordered a halt when they reached what should have been the mess hall. Instead, they found a large chamber filled with strange pods arranged in neat rows. Each pod was big enough to hold a person, and they all showed signs of recent use. The implications were terrifying, Doctor. Min Kyung scanned one of the empty pods and found biological residue that confirmed their worst fears. The pods had been used to transform human beings into something else. The process appeared to be controlled and voluntary, but the results were permanent and irreversible. Marine So Young reported movement deeper in the ship. Their motion detectors were picking up multiple contacts moving through the lower decks. Whatever the crew had become, they were still alive, and they knew the boarding party was there. The team's communications with the Defender began to break up as they moved further into the ship. The alien technology was creating interference that made it hard to maintain contact. Captain Hyunwoo could only listen to broken fragments of their reports. In the ship's library, they found research data that explained some of what had happened. The crew had made contact with a faction of aliens who called themselves the Unity. These aliens claimed to offer partnership rather than conquest, but the price was transformation into something no longer entirely human. Lieutenant Taijin found a sealed door that required special access codes to open. The door was marked with both human and alien symbols, suggesting it led to something important. His team prepared for anything as they worked to override the security system. Behind the door was a laboratory that looked like it belonged in a science fiction movie. Human and alien technology worked together to create devices that could modify living tissue at the genetic level. The equipment was still running, suggesting the transformation process was ongoing. Dr. Min Kyung examined the laboratory equipment and found that it was designed to be completely safe. The transformation process was voluntary and could be halted at any stage, but once completed, the changes were permanent, and the subject would no longer be entirely human. Marine Jinho discovered a communication log that contained messages from the transformed crew to Earth Command. The messages explained that they had undergone the changes willingly to gain the power needed to fight the hostile alien factions that threatened humanity. The laboratory contained detailed records of the transformation process. Each crew member had chosen to undergo the change after learning that it would give them abilities beyond human limitations. They could survive in space without suits interfaced directly with alien technology and fight with strength and speed that no normal human possessed. Lieutenant Taijin realized they were not alone in the laboratory. His motion detector showed multiple contacts approaching from different directions. The transformed crew was coming to meet them, and nobody knew whether they would be friendly or hostile. Marine So Young reported that the energy readings throughout the ship were increasing. Something big was powering up in the lower levels. The black ship was preparing for something, and they were running out of time. To discover what Dr. Min Kyung found one final piece of information that changed everything. The transformation process had not been entirely successful. A few crew members had experienced rejection reactions that drove them to madness. These failed. Transformations had been sealed away somewhere in the ship, but they might still be alive. Lieutenant Taijin ordered his team to prepare for contact with unknown beings. They had found the truth about the black ship, but the story was far from over. The crew had become something new, something that might be humanity's salvation or its greatest threat. Lieutenant Taijin and his Marines moved deeper into the black ship, following signs that led them toward the central computer core. The corridors had become increasingly alien, with organic-looking growths covering the walls and ceiling. The ship felt alive, as if it was breathing around them. Marine So-Young checked her scanner and reported multiple life signs converging on their position. The readings were strange, showing biological signatures that were part human and part something else entirely. The transformed crew was definitely still alive and moving through the ship. Dr. Min Kyung examined the organic growths on the walls and made a disturbing discovery. The material was not entirely alien, but appeared to be a fusion of human tissue and unknown biological compounds. The ship itself had been transformed just like its crew. They reached a massive chamber at the heart of the ship that housed the central computer system. But this was unlike any computer they had ever seen. Human technology had been merged with alien biomechanical components, creating a hybrid system that pulsed with its own life. The main computer terminal was still functional, and Lieutenant Tae-jin was able to access the ship's logs. What they found, there would change everything they thought they knew about the war against the aliens. The truth was more complex and terrifying than anyone had imagined. Captain Do-hyun appeared on the screen in a recorded message, but he was barely recognizable as human. His skin had a metallic sheen and his eyes glowed with an inner light that hurt to look at directly. Despite his changed appearance, his voice was calm and rational. The logs revealed that the original black ship had encountered a faction of aliens called the Unity. Unlike the hostile collective forces that humanity had been fighting, these aliens offered partnership and cooperation. They claimed to want to help humanity survive and grow stronger. Captain Do-hyun explained in his recordings that the Unity had approached them with an offer that seemed too good to be true. They promised to share their advanced technology and biological enhancements in exchange for willing volunteers who would undergo a transformation process. The transformation would allow humans to gain abilities that would make them equal to the most advanced alien species. They would be able to survive in the vacuum of space interface directly with alien technology and possess physical strength and speed beyond normal human limits. But the price was steep. The transformation was irreversible and would change volunteers at a fundamental genetic level. They would retain their human consciousness and memories, but their bodies would become something new. Something that was no longer entirely human. Captain Do-hyun had faced an impossible choice. His ship was outnumbered and outgunned by hostile alien forces. Earth was under constant threat, and humanity was losing the war. The Unity offered the power to turn the tide, but at the cost of their humanity. The captain made the ultimate sacrifice. He allowed himself and his crew to undergo the transformation, becoming the first human-alien hybrids. The process was voluntary, and each crew member chose their own fate. But once they made the choice, there was no going back. The logs showed that most of the transformations were successful. The crew retained their human personalities and loyalties while gaining incredible new abilities. They became living weapons capable of fighting the alien threat on equal terms for the first time. But some transformations went wrong. A few crew members experienced rejection reactions that drove them to madness. These failed hybrids became violent and unpredictable, forcing Captain Do-hyun to seal them away in the lower levels of the ship for everyone's safety. Lieutenant Tae-jin and his team learned that the black ship had been turned into a mobile laboratory where the Unity could study the transformation process and work to perfect it. The goal was to eventually offer the enhancement to all of humanity. Dr. Min Kyung discovered research data showing that the Unity had learned from their early failures. The new transformation process was safer, more controlled, and could even be reversed in the early stages if the subject experienced problems. The hybrid crew had already begun fighting back against the hostile alien factions with unprecedented success. Their ability to understand and interface with alien technology gave them advantages that normal human forces could never match. Marine Jinho found battle reports showing hybrid soldiers surviving direct hits from plasma weapons, operating in the vacuum of space without protection, and turning enemy ships against each other by hacking their systems from the inside. The Unity had not conquered the crew they had partnered with them. The hybrids remained loyal to humanity while gaining the tools needed to protect their species from extinction. Captain Do-hyun was still in command, but he was no longer entirely human. Lieutenant Tae-jin realized they were being watched. Security cameras throughout the ship had been tracking their movement since they arrived. The hybrid crew knew exactly where they were and what they were doing, but had chosen not to interfere. The computer logs revealed that the black ship's arrival in the Sol system was not accidental. It was an invitation. The Unity wanted to offer the transformation to Earth's population, starting with military volunteers and gradually expanding to civilians. Dr. Min Kyung found medical data showing that the transformation process had been refined and improved. The new procedures were safer and more predictable, with a much lower chance of rejection reactions. The Unity had learned from their mistakes, but the logs also contained warnings about the psychological effects of the transformation. While the hybrids retained their human minds and emotions, many struggled with their changed bodies and abilities. Some had difficulty relating to their unchanged loved ones. The transformation created a permanent division between normal humans and the enhanced hybrid population. Some hybrids felt isolated and alone, unable to connect with people who could not understand what they had experienced. Marine So-young detected movement in the corridor outside the computer chamber. Multiple life signs were approaching their position. The hybrid crew had finally decided to make contact with the boarding party, but nobody knew what to expect. Lieutenant Tae-jin ordered his team to prepare for contact, but not to fire unless fired upon. The hybrids had once been human soldiers just like them and deserved the benefit of the doubt until proven otherwise. The chamber's main door opened with a mechanical hiss and a figure stepped into the light. It was Captain Do-hyun himself, but his transformation was even more complete than his recorded messages had suggested. He looked more alien than human, but his manner was calm and non-threatening. The captain spoke in a voice that was recognizably human, despite his changed appearance. He explained that the boarding party was welcome and that he had been waiting for this moment. The Unity wanted to speak directly with Earth's representatives. Captain Do-hyun revealed that the transformation was not just about gaining alien abilities, but about evolution itself. Humanity had reached a crossroads where they could either remain as they were and eventually face extinction or evolve into something greater. The choice would soon be offered to all of humanity. The Unity would not force anyone to transform, but they would make the option available to those brave enough to take the next step in human evolution. Lieutenant Tae-jin listened to the transformed captain with growing amazement and fear. The implications of what he was hearing would change everything about humanity's future. The war against the aliens was about to become something entirely different. Captain Do-hyun stood before Lieutenant Tae-jin and his Marines in the central chamber of the black ship. His transformation was complete, making him appear more alien than human, but his eyes held the same intelligence and determination they remembered from his service records. The transformed captain gestured for the Marines to lower their weapons. He explained that violence was unnecessary and that he wanted to show them something that would help them understand what had really happened to him and his crew. Lieutenant Tae-jin gave the order to stand down but remain alert. His Marines kept their weapons ready while following Captain Do-hyun deeper into the ship. The corridors they walked through showed even more advanced alien modifications than before. They entered a vast laboratory complex that stretched across multiple decks of the ship. Human volunteers from various colonies floated in transformation chambers, while alien and human technicians monitored their progress. The sight was both amazing and terrifying. Dr. Min Kyung examined the transformation chambers and found that the process had been refined, far beyond what they had seen in the earlier logs. The new procedures were completely safe and could be halted at any stage without permanent harm to the volunteer captain. Do-hyun explained that the Unity had learned from their early mistakes. The transformation process was now completely voluntary and reversible in its early stages. Volunteers could experience the changes and decide whether to complete the process or return to their normal human state. Marine So-young watched as one of the transformation chambers opened, revealing a volunteer who had just completed the process. The person looked mostly human but moved with fluid grace that suggested enhanced physical abilities. Their eyes held an inner light that indicated successful integration with alien technology. The transformed volunteer demonstrated their new abilities by lifting massive pieces of equipment that would normally require mechanical assistance. They could interface directly with alien computer systems, and their enhanced senses could detect energy patterns invisible to normal humans. Captain Du Hyun showed them a combat training area, where hybrid soldiers practiced fighting techniques that combined human tactics with alien technology. These warriors could survive in the vacuum of space without protective suits, and their strength was far beyond normal human limits. Lieutenant Tae-jin watched hybrid soldiers sparring with each other at speeds that were almost too fast to follow. Their movements were coordinated with a precision that suggested they could share thoughts and sensations through their alien enhancements. Dr. Min Kyung studied the medical data from successful transformations and found that the hybrids retained all their human emotions and memories while gaining abilities that made them far superior to normal humans in every measurable way. The transformed Captain explained that hybrid soldiers had already been fighting against the hostile alien factions with unprecedented success. They could turn enemy weapons against their creators and survive attacks that would destroy normal human forces. Marine Jinho watched a tactical display showing recent battles where hybrid forces had defeated alien fleets that outnumbered them 10-1. The enhanced humans could coordinate their attacks with machine-like precision while maintaining human creativity and adaptability. Captain Do Hyun revealed that the transformation was not just about military applications. The enhanced humans could survive on worlds that would be deadly to normal people. They could work in environments that would kill unprotected humans and live far longer than natural human lifespans. But the captain also warned about the costs of transformation. The process changed people in ways that went beyond physical enhancement. Many hybrids found it difficult to relate to their unchanged friends and family members. Some transformed individuals experienced psychological isolation because they could no longer connect with normal humans in the same way. Their enhanced senses and abilities made them feel like they were living in a different world. The social implications were staggering. Families would be divided between those who chose transformation and those who remained human. Children would have to decide whether to follow their parents into hybrid existence or remain in their natural state. Captain Do Hyun showed them communication logs from hybrid families on various colonies. The letters revealed both the incredible advantages of transformation and the emotional costs that came with leaving normal humanity behind. Lieutenant Tae-jin learned that the Unity had not approached humanity randomly. They had been watching the war between humans and the hostile alien factions, and decided to intervene before humanity faced complete extinction. The Unity themselves were a collective of species that had chosen voluntary evolution over millions of years. They had learned to integrate the best characteristics of different alien races while maintaining their individual identities and cultures. They offered the same choice to humanity, the chance to evolve beyond their current limitations and gain the power needed to not just survive, but thrive in a galaxy filled with hostile civilizations. Dr. Min Kyung discovered that the transformation process could be customized for different individuals. Some volunteers chose minimal changes that enhanced their existing abilities, while others opted for more dramatic modifications that gave them entirely new capabilities. Marine So Young found records showing that entire human colonies had voted to undergo mass transformation, becoming hybrid communities that could survive on worlds where normal humans could not live. The Unity had made it clear that the choice belonged to humanity. They would provide the technology and guidance, but each individual would decide their own fate. No one would be forced to transform against their will. Captain Do Hyun explained that the Black Ship had been sent to the Sol system to offer this choice to Earth's population. The transformation would begin with military volunteers who understood the risks and benefits of enhancement. The captain revealed that he and his crew had already prepared detailed reports for Earth Command explaining the transformation process and its implications. The decision would ultimately rest with humanity's leaders and people. Lieutenant Tae-jin realized that this information would change everything about human civilization. The choice between remaining human or evolving into something greater would divide families, communities, and entire worlds. But the captain also showed them the alternative without the transformation. Humanity would eventually lose the war against the hostile alien factions. Normal human technology and biology were simply not sufficient to compete with advanced alien civilizations. The Unity offered a path to survival and growth that would allow humanity to not only defend itself, but to become a major power in galactic civilization. The price was accepting that human evolution would continue in ways no one had ever imagined. Dr. Min Kyung asked about the failed transformations they had heard about in the earlier logs. Captain Do-hyun admitted that some early attempts had gone wrong, but the refined process had eliminated most of the risks. The captain showed them the sealed sections of the ship where the failed hybrids were contained. He explained that these individuals had not died, but had become something unstable and dangerous. They were kept in stasis. Until a cure could be found, Lieutenant Tae-jin realized that his mission was no longer about investigating a mysterious ship, but about deciding the future of humanity. The choice offered by the Unity would determine whether humans remained as they were or evolved into something entirely new. The moment news of the hybrid program reached Earth through Lieutenant Tae-jin's reports, the hostile alien collective launched their most devastating attack in the history of the war. Massive fleets emerged from hidden bases throughout the galaxy, moving toward human space with deadly intent. Captain Hyunwoo watched in horror as his sensors detected hundreds of alien warships approaching the Sol system. The enemy had been waiting and planning for this moment, knowing that humanity's alliance with the Unity would change the balance of power in the galaxy. Emergency alarms rang throughout Earth Command as reports came in from outer colonies. Human settlements across dozens of worlds were under simultaneous attack. The collective had coordinated their assault with precision that suggested they had been preparing for months. The enemy fleets were larger and more advanced than anything humanity had faced before. New types of warships armed with weapons that could destroy entire planets appeared, alongside the familiar designs that had terrorized human space for years. Captain Hyunwoo received orders to defend Earth at all costs, while the hybrid program was still in its early stages. Most of humanity remained unchanged and vulnerable to the alien assault. The Defender and the rest of the human fleet would have to hold the line. Admiral Sunmi coordinated the defense from Earth Command, but everyone knew the odds were impossible. The human fleet was outnumbered 50-1, and the enemy had superior technology that could penetrate their strongest defenses. The first wave of alien attacks struck the outer planets with devastating effect. Entire colonies were wiped out in minutes as the collective demonstrated new weapons that turned matter itself into energy. The destruction was beyond anything they had seen before. Captain Do-hyun and his hybrid crew launched from the black ship in small fighters that looked more organic than mechanical. The transformed humans moved through space without protective suits, demonstrating abilities that seemed impossible to normal observers. Lieutenant Tae-jin and his Marines had returned to the Defender just in time to witness the battle that would determine humanity's fate. The hybrid fighters engaged the alien fleet with tactics and abilities that defied conventional understanding. Marine So Young watched through the ship's sensors as hybrid soldiers survived direct hits from plasma weapons that would vaporize normal humans. They seemed to absorb the energy and redirect it against their attackers. The hybrid fighters could interface directly with alien technology, turning enemy weapons against the collective fleet warships that had been firing on human targets. Suddenly began attacking their own allies as hybrid soldiers took control of their systems. Dr. Min Kyung monitored the biological readings from the hybrid soldiers and found that they were operating in ways that should have been impossible. Their bodies had adapted to survive in the vacuum of space, and their enhanced abilities allowed them to fight as living weapons. Captain Do-hyun led the hybrid assault with strategic brilliance that combined human creativity with alien precision. His transformed crew coordinated their attacks with perfect timing, turning the space around Earth into a battlefield where normal physics seemed not to apply. Marine Jin-ho reported that the hybrid soldiers were not just surviving the alien assault, but actually pushing the enemy back. For the first time since the war began, human forces were gaining ground against the collective fleet. The enemy responded by bringing forward their most powerful warships, massive vessels that dwarfed anything in the human fleet. These dreadnoughts carried planet-killing weapons designed to end the battle through overwhelming force. But the hybrid soldiers adapted their tactics, using their ability to survive in space to board the enemy dreadnoughts directly. They moved through the vacuum like swimmers through water, approaching the alien ships without being detected by conventional sensors. Captain Hyunwoo watched in amazement as hybrid soldiers tore through the hulls of alien warships with their bare hands. Their enhanced strength and alien technology integration allowed them to disable enemy vessels from within. The battle turned into something beyond normal warfare as hybrid soldiers demonstrated abilities that seemed magical to normal human observers. They could communicate telepathically, coordinate attacks across vast distances, and survive damage that would destroy military vehicles. Admiral Sunmi realized that the transformation program was not just offering humanity a choice, but providing the only realistic path to survival. The hybrid soldiers were proving that enhanced humans could not only match alien technology, but surpass it. The collective fleet began to retreat as their losses mounted, but the hybrid soldiers pursued them through space, moving faster than any human vessel could travel. Their enhanced bodies allowed them to achieve speeds that would crush normal humans. Dr. Min Kyung documented the battle as a turning point in human evolution. The hybrid soldiers were not just fighting for survival, but demonstrating what humanity could become with the right enhancements and alien technology. Integration. Lieutenant Tai Jin realized that the enemy had made a fatal mistake by attacking during the early stages of the transformation program. The battle was showing the entire human population exactly why the hybrid enhancement was necessary for survival marine. So Young reported that human colonies throughout the galaxy were requesting immediate transformation as news of the battle spread. The sight of hybrid soldiers defeating impossible odds convinced many people that evolution was their only hope. Captain Du Hyun and his crew had turned the tide of the war through their sacrifice and transformation. Their example inspired thousands of volunteers to undergo the hybrid process. The Unity began establishing transformation centers on worlds throughout human space. The alien collective had intended to destroy humanity before the hybrid program could spread, but their attack had the opposite effect. The demonstration of hybrid abilities convinced even skeptical humans that transformation was necessary. Captain Hyun Woo received reports that the enemy fleet was in full retreat, but the war was far from over. The collective would return with new strategies and weapons designed specifically to counter the hybrid soldiers. But for the first time since the war began, humanity was not fighting just to survive. They were fighting to build a future where enhanced humans could explore the galaxy and establish their own civilization among the stars. The battle for Earth had become a symbol of human determination and adaptability. The hybrid soldiers had proven that humanity could evolve to meet any challenge and overcome any enemy through courage and innovation. Admiral Sun Mi began planning for the next phase of the war, knowing that the collective would not give up easily. The enemy had resources and technology that humanity was only beginning to understand, but the hybrid program offered hope for victory. Dr. Min Kyung analyzed the battle data and concluded that the transformation program was not just changing individual humans, but transforming human civilization itself. The war had become a catalyst for evolution that would reshape the entire species. Lieutenant Tai Jin and his Marines had witnessed the birth of a new kind of warfare, where enhanced humans fought with abilities that seemed impossible. The future would belong to those brave enough to accept transformation and evolution. The Black Ship had brought more than just an invitation to evolve. It had brought the tools humanity needed to win a war that had seemed hopeless. The hybrid soldiers were proof that human potential was far greater than anyone had imagined. 3 months after the great battle that saved Earth, humanity faced its most important decision in history. The transformation chambers established by the Unity were working around the clock as volunteers from every human world requested enhancement. The hybrid program had proven successful beyond all expectations. Dr. Yoonji led the civilian committee tasked with creating guidelines for the transformation process. Her research showed that while hybrid individuals retained their humanity in every meaningful way, they represented the beginning of a new evolutionary branch for the species. The debates raged across Earth and the colonies about whether transformation should be mandatory, voluntary, or restricted to military personnel only. Families found themselves divided as some members chose enhancement, while others preferred to remain in their natural human state. Captain Hyun-woo made his decision after weeks of careful consideration. He chose to undergo the transformation himself, becoming one of the first Earthborn hybrids. His choice influenced thousands of other military personnel who respected his judgment and leadership. The transformation process had become routine and safe, with success rates approaching 100%. The Unity had perfected their techniques and could now customize the enhancement for different individuals and their specific needs and preferences. Lieutenant Tae Jin also volunteered for transformation, along with most of his Marine squad. The soldiers who had witnessed hybrid capabilities firsthand understood better than anyone else what the enhancement could offer. Humanity Marine. So Young emerged from her transformation chamber with abilities that amazed even the experienced Unity technicians. Her integration with alien technology was so complete that she could interface with systems across the ship using only her thoughts. Dr. Min Kyung chose a specialized transformation that enhanced her medical and scientific abilities, allowing her to understand alien biology and technology in ways that no normal human could achieve. Her research would help improve the process for future volunteers. The transformation was no longer frightening to most humans, but represented hope. For humanity's future among the stars, children grew up knowing they would eventually choose between remaining human or evolving into something greater. Captain Do-hyun worked with Earth Command to establish training programs for new hybrids. The enhanced humans needed to learn how to use their abilities safely and effectively, while maintaining their connection to human culture and values. The social changes were dramatic, but generally positive. Hybrid families found new ways to connect and communicate, while mixed families with both human and enhanced members learned to bridge the gap between different levels of human evolution. Yunji discovered that hybrid children showed remarkable abilities from birth, suggesting that the genetic changes could be passed to future generations. The implications for human evolution were staggering and wonderful. Admiral Sunmi authorized the construction of new starships designed specifically for hybrid crews. These vessels incorporated both human and Unity technology, creating the most advanced ships in